Hey guys, it's Dan from CryptoCamacho.com. Hey, in this episode, in this video, I want to talk about ICOs, initial coin offerings. If you're not familiar with initial coin offerings, you need to get familiar right away. ICOs are really the biggest thing since IPOs. They're very similar to IPOs in initial public offerings in the sense that companies are being created literally, virtually out of thin air, out of nothing. They're setting up these companies, they're writing white papers about how they want to actually build and grow these companies, and then they're launching what's called an initial coin offering or an ICO. And what these ICOs do is they're a way for these companies to raise money to fund the projects that they're going to be working on that are typically related to blockchain, Bitcoin, or other cryptocurrencies. There's a lot of different ICO projects that are built on Ethereum, Ethereum's platform, and so forth. So ICOs are really a way that these companies are raising funds and raising money to start building out different platforms based on cryptocurrency technology. And so what I really want to talk about today is how to actually invest in ICOs, how to pick ICOs, how to choose the right ICOs from the wrong ICOs, and how to choose the winners from the losers. I've noticed, since I've been in this game, since I've been looking at ICOs and cryptocurrencies now for several months, gosh, it's been probably 6 months at this point, I've noticed that there are more and more ICOs coming out every day, every week, every month, more than I could keep up with, honestly. They're coming out just left and right on multiple websites. You can find different ICO listings kind of all over the place. And, it's hard to keep up with which ICOs are good and which ICOs are bad. Like, which ICOs do you actually pick, right? Which ICOs do you invest in? Without doing, a lot of due diligence, a lot of research, and really understanding what the value proposition of the company is, it's really hard to pick an ICO that you think will really go up in value. So I started thinking about, how can I start screening ICOs, like these massive lists of ICOs? How can I start screening them so that I could, separate the winners from the losers very quickly or fairly quickly, right? Which will kind of be like my phase one approach on how I start looking at ICOs, right? It's not kind of the end all be all, but I've devised a method or a way that you can look at ICOs and filter out the good ICOs from the bad ICOs right from the get-go. So you could take a list of 1,000 ICOs, right? Or 100 ICOs or however many ICOs you want. You could put them into my tool, my model that I built, and then you could really quickly understand which ICOs may have more potential than other ICOs. So let's get into it, right? So real quick, I wanted to talk about the trend of ICOs. I mean, it is exploding. It is growing so fast. It's ridiculous. I mean, it's growing so fast that, it's hard, like I said, it's hard to even keep up with it. And, and this trend is becoming so popular, but it's like, how do you keep up with this? I mean, if you invest in the right ICOs, you will profit, right? There's countless examples of ICOs going from a few cents or under $1 to beyond $1 within the first week, within the first month of launching. And you can make some really good money, really good profits off of these ICOs. At the same time, they're also very risky, right? They're also very volatile. And if you don't know what you're getting into, they could be very risky with your money. So I definitely recommend you invest in ICOs, but I say that with caution. You should invest in ICOs with caution, with money that you're prepared to lose, or with money that you're prepared to grow, to the moon. They have tremendous potential to grow. And so what I've done is I've actually created a formula that allows you to sift between the bad ICOs from the good ICOs, right? The good ICOs from the bad ICOs. And I'm going to show you how to do that. But first, before we get into that, there's something we need to talk about. There's a topic we need to talk about in order for you to understand the method that I'm using to actually understand what ICOs are going to be profitable and which ones aren't. And what I want to talk about first is sentiment analysis. So sentiment analysis is really the backbone of this method that I'm using. It's really a way to look at large data sets of contextual data to understand the data and to understand if the data has a positive or a negative sentiment to the tone of it, right? So by analyzing massive amounts of text-based data, sentiment analysis gives you the ability to determine if the text is leaning towards a positive perception or a negative perception of the topics that you're analyzing. So let's take a look at how Wikipedia analyzes sentiment analysis. So they say that sentiment analysis is sometimes known as opinion mining or emotion AI. Refers to the use of natural language processing, text analysis, computational linguistics, and biometrics to systematically identify, extract, quantify, and study affective states and subjective information. Sentiment analysis is widely applied to the voice of the customer materials, such as reviews, survey responses online and social media, that's key, and healthcare materials for applications that range from marketing to customer service to clinical medicine. I know that's a mouthful, but let me go a little bit further. So generally speaking, sentiment analysis aims to determine the attitude of a speaker, writer, or subject with respect to some topic or the overall contextual popularity or polarity of emotional reaction to that particular text, right? So in a nutshell, that's how Wikipedia defines sentiment analysis, but in a nutshell, if you analyze a bunch of text, right, articles, social media feeds, Facebook, Twitter feeds, you can analyze those and determine whether or not the text in those articles, in those feeds, have a positive or a negative perception or sentiment about the topic that's being discussed. That is essentially what sentiment analysis is. And wow, it's powerful, right? It's very powerful stuff that now in the age of the internet, you can look at text and you could determine whether or not that text is reflecting a positive or a negative view on the topic that you're looking at. Very, very powerful, a lot of applications for that. But today I want to specifically talk about how you can apply sentiment analysis into ICO investing, right? And picking the right ICOs. You can apply it to a lot more, apply it to any cryptocurrency. You can apply it to the stock market, so forth and so on. But today I want to show you how I apply it to initial coin offerings and picking the right or good initial coin offerings, ICOs, right? So now, Okay, so now why is sentiment analysis important in cryptocurrency trading, right? Why is it important to understand sentiment analysis in relation to ICOs or initial coin offerings, right? And this is a really important point, right? So cryptocurrency markets, including ICOs, are largely based on the emotions of people today, right? On their fears, on their excitement, on their anticipation, on their ability to anticipate that a cryptocurrency may go up, right? It's largely emotionally based today, right? There aren't a lot of market fundamentals to track and follow cryptocurrencies. I mean, there are the traditional stock market indicators you can follow, the same as you would, on the stock market. But there isn't a whole lot of information that you can go and look at to help you understand how a cryptocurrency is going to be profitable or not, or to really assess the value of a particular cryptocurrency. It's just not there yet, right? I mean, there are some things out there, but it's just not fully baked yet, like the stock market is, right? Like the S&P 500 or the NASDAQ and, all that. There's professional institutions that are looking at indicators all day long on that stuff, but cryptocurrency is a little bit different. The market movements, price increases, price decreases, are largely determined by the emotional state of the people investing in the cryptocurrency itself, right? It's their belief or confidence that that cryptocurrency is going to go up or down, and that's largely what they base their investment strategies on, right? And this is a really, really important point because not only can you choose good ICOs based on, knowing whether or not the sentiment or the perception of the market is positive or negative, you could also invest in cryptocurrencies this way, right? I mean, there's a very, very positive, strong base of supporters for Bitcoin and Ethereum, right? The people that back those two cryptocurrencies, they have very, very high confidence in those cryptocurrencies that they're going to go up in price, right? That they're going to continue to evolve, they're going to continue to improve, and they're going to continually go up in price, right? Other cryptocurrencies, less known cryptocurrencies, it's a bit different, right? A lot of people don't know the value of those, right? And so the price is largely driven by news or by positive or negative news in the marketplace, positive or negative social media mentions in the marketplace, positive and negative forum discussions on like Reddit, right? Or Bitcoin Talk or other forums, right? People talking about specific alt currencies or cryptocurrencies that may go up or down in value. And so that's very, very important when we're talking about sentiment analysis, because sentiment analysis will take all of that data on the forums, on the social media websites, in the blogosphere, on the internet. It'll take all of that contextual data and it will look at it and it will scan it and it will analyze whether or not that data is positive or negative. And that'll give you an indication of whether or not that cryptocurrency is poised to go up or poised to go down. So that's a very important point. And I want to show you a few examples of this. This is not all hype. This is not all, just hearsay. This is actually happening today. And there are many, many examples of this that I could point you to. So here's a few. This method hasn't really been used in the cryptocurrency market much to date. I expect that it will start to evolve and gain popularity in time. But in the stock market, this is heavily being looked at by institutional investors, by hedge funds, and so forth. They're using sentiment analysis or social media data, forum data, contextual-based data to understand, if stocks are going to go up and down, if commodities are going to go up and down, right? So here are a few examples that I want to show you of when it's being used in the stock market, right? So here are a couple studies that I've found that are using social media or sentiment analysis to determine the trends of stock prices, right? Or to actually predict the stock market price increases or decreases. Here's one, right? Stock trend prediction using news sentiment analysis. And you could read this entire study done by, let's see, the Department of Computer Engineering in Mumbai, right? They have an entire study done on whether or not sentiment analysis can be, whether stock market trends can be predicted by sentiment analysis, right? I'll let you read through this. I will put the link in the show notes so you can take a look. Here's another one, right? Stock prediction using Twitter sentiment analysis. This one was done at Stanford University right here in California where I sit. Another study that is showing, does sentiment analysis affect stock price? Can you predict the stock market with sentiment analysis? The same thing can be applied to cryptocurrency and cryptocurrency markets. The same thing can be applied to ICOs, and that's exactly what I've done. And I want to show you exactly how I have done that. So let me go back one sec over here and let me see. So, how does this all work? How can you predict the stock market with social sentiment, right? Analysis? How can you predict the stock market by reading Twitter feeds or by reading news blogs and whatnot? And there's a simple answer for it. It's because humans are predictable. Human behavior is predictable. What people feel, their emotions, their anticipations, their fears, those are all predictable. And stock prices and cryptocurrency prices are based largely on the emotions of the people that are investing in those particular cryptocurrencies or stocks, right? And so when a panic ensues, traders think they're going to lose all of their money, and so they start selling like crazy. What else happens? They start talking in forums, on Twitter, on Facebook. They start talking negatively about a particular stock or a particular altcoin that may go down in price. And so that then spreads around the internet and people start selling the stock, right? And it just goes down and down and down and down and tumbles from there. And so it's no wonder why hedge funds and multi-million-dollar, institutional investors are looking at sentiment analysis to start to understand how they can really use this to their advantage. How can they gain an edge by using this data to invest more effectively into cryptocurrency or into stocks, right? And so I developed a method that you can look at sentiment analysis, from all over the web and compare it to ICOs that you may be interested in buying and then ranking those by their sentiment analysis scores, if you will, right? So I developed a tool called ICOs. It's the ICO Sentiment Tracker, and I call it ICOs for short. But essentially, it's a unique way to analyze initial coin offerings based on their social signals in the market, right? Based on sentiment analysis, based on what people are saying in forums, on Twitter, on Facebook, on blogs, so forth and so on. It's a way that lets you aggregate all of that data, all of that information together in one place against a specific ICO that you may be interested in looking at, right? So let me show you really quickly here. So this is a quick snapshot of the ICO Sentiment Tracker tool. I'll get into this a little bit more later, but here you can see there's the ICO name, and then you see all these numbers that I've ranked it on, over here. I'll get back more into this in just a moment, but I wanted to give you a quick snapshot of how it works. And so first, what I really want to talk about is how the tool actually works. Okay, so again, I made this tool to better understand how I should invest in ICOs, how I should choose ICOs, right? How I can choose the winners from the losers in terms of ICOs. I was overwhelmed by all the ICOs that I was seeing in the market, and I didn't know really even where to start. And so I built this tool to, as a starting point of how to start sifting the good ICOs from the bad ICOs. I was thinking, where do I start? What ICO should I invest in? Which ones will be profitable? I had so many questions. I didn't even know really where to begin. And so this was a way for me to start weeding out all of the bad or negative ICOs that I saw, right? And so first what I thought is, where can I find a list or a good list of ICOs that are coming out in the market on a regular basis? What source can I use to find a consistent stream of ICOs that are coming out, every day that I can look at, that I can analyze, and I can choose and put in the good pile or the bad pile. There are a lot of websites that you can find out more about ICOs. There's a lot of websites you could track ICOs and ICO launch dates and so forth. I decided to settle on one called CoinGecko, right? CoinGecko is a pretty good site. I'll show it here. I'll show it to you here in just a sec. So let's take a quick look at CoinGecko. So this is CoinGecko right here, right? And they have a section on CoinGecko called ICOs. And essentially what it does is it lists out different ICOs every day, right? Anytime a new ICO comes up, they list it here. You can actually go and click into the ICO, and then you can visit the ICO page. It's a website, where you can determine if you want to invest in it or not. And essentially, let me go back here one sec. So essentially, this was a list that I wanted to use of all the ICOs that I could choose from. There are other tools, right? There's ICO Tracker, there's Coin Schedule. I'll put a number of links in the show notes so that you can choose what tracker you want to use. But I choose CoinGecko. It's a clean interface. It's easy to use, and I thought it'd be easy to do. So I just chose CoinGecko for my starting point. Okay, so now I had a place where I can regularly check in on ICOs and see which ICOs are coming up. So now the next thing that I needed was a good tool, a free tool, essentially, a good tool to do social media or sentiment analysis, right? And so I looked around. There are several tools out there, but what I landed on was a tool called Social Mention. It's free to use. It does real-time social media and search analysis or sentiment analysis, right? So let's just type in something. Let's type in Bitcoin, right? Okay, let's see what it says about Bitcoin. Actually, let's not do Bitcoin. Let's do an ICO. Let's pick one. Let's just say, let's say Syndicator. What's Syndicator? A hybrid intelligence for effective asset management. Okay, let's plug that into the tool, Syndicator. And so what this tool does is it's going to look at social signals, positive and negative sentiment around this term, syndicator, right? The name of the ICO is Syndicator, and so people will be saying the word syndicator on blogs and forums and social media and so forth. And this is really just going to give me results back on this particular ICO. Okay, so when I type in the word syndicator, that particular ICO, you'll see I get a bunch of information back, right? I get strength, sentiment, passion, reach, and then a bunch of other information down here, and then I could see the actual feeds of that particular term and who's saying that term. So let's take a deeper look at what this means, right? So let's define these before we go any further, right? So when I'm typing in syndicator, I'm expecting a result, and I want to understand, are people talking positively or negatively about the ICO syndicator, right? Is this something that people are really interested in, really passionate about, that has positive sentiment in the market, positive perception in the market? This is where social mention comes in, right? So quickly, before we go any further, let's define these things. So strength, 40% strength. What does that actually mean? So strength is defined by, strength is the likelihood that your brand is being discussed in social media. A very simple calculation is used. The phrase mentions within the last 24 hours divided by the total possible mentions, right? So this is how often people are talking about syndicator in social media, on Facebook, on Twitter, on other Pinterest, on other social media platforms, right? And 40% strength, not bad, right? Passion is the measure of likelihood that individuals talking about your brand will do so repeatedly. So if somebody's talking about syndicator, are they going to do it over and over and over and over, right? That indicates passion. Are people passionate about this? Are they talking about it a lot over and over and over, right? Then we go to reach. Reach is a measure of the range of influence. It is the number of unique authors referencing your brand divided by the total number of mentions, right? So this is, how many people are actually talking about this? How many mentions is syndicator getting in the blogosphere, right? In social media, like how many people are actually talking about this stuff? 50%, not bad, right? And overall sentiment is the ratio of mentions that are generally positive to those that are negative, right? And you can see a breakdown of that right here. So we're seeing that there's 8 positive mentions compared to 1 negative mention. So it's 8-to-1, right? 8-to-1 sentiment is actually pretty good. Most people are talking pretty positively about syndicator, right? And then you start to get in to more specifics, right? How many unique authors within the last 24 hours are talking about syndicator? 75. That's actually not bad within the last 24 hours, right? Better than a lot of ones that I've seen. How many people are retweeting about Syndicator? 55. Again, not bad. And then how often are people talking about Syndicator? You know, is it every day? Is it every few days? Like, how often is the word Syndicator popping up in the blogosphere, on forums, in social media? And in this case, it's 6 minutes on average per mention. So every 6 minutes, somebody is saying the word Syndicator in one of these social media outlets, right? Pretty interesting stuff, right? And so and there's a little bit more information you can get, right? You can see where the mentions came from, whether Twitter, Reddit, WordPress, so forth and so on. And then you could actually go through the individual feed here, and there's quite a few of them, to read, you know, the specifics about what people are saying about Syndicator, this ICO. You could also download the data, so forth and so on. So this is really kind of where I started. I first, you know, gathered my list of ICOs right here. I then go to social mention to get my social media or my sentiment analysis. And what did I do with that? So I took this information, and for all of the ICOs, I did actually 50, and I'm going to do a lot more, but I'm testing this out right now. But I went to CoinGecko, I grabbed this list of ICOs, I plugged it in my spreadsheet, right? You can see right here that I have a number of ICOs, and like I said, I did 50 in my case. And then I ran social mention analytics around all of these ICO names, right? And you can see and then I documented the strength, the passion, the reach, the sentiment, positive, negative, neutral, the number of authors, the number of retweets, and the number of average mentions. What I just went through just a moment ago, right? I essentially plotted that on a spreadsheet right here. And then what I did is I stack rank those, you know, or I sort those based on different indicators. And what it does is it actually gives me a way to look at these more objectively to say, okay, are these ICOs being looked at in a positive way or in a negative way in the market? And if I sort by strength, I'll see that, you know, FlipMe is actually very strong. Regal Coin is very strong as well. And these are kind of top coins that are very strong in terms of strength. And let's review again. What does strength actually mean? So strength is, again, the likelihood that your brand is being discussed. Oh, hold on one sec. Is the likelihood that your brand is being discussed in social media. So strength is pretty positive, right? And so the next step is I took all this data, and this alone, you know, gives me a lot of really good insight, right? I can sort any one of these columns, and let me just do that for you here in just a moment. And so I can really sort any of these columns. Let's just do it by positive, right? Like by positive mentions, and let's see what the result is, right? Largest to smallest. So Air Token, and again, Regal Coin pops up again. Syndicator actually pops up, and it's changed a bit. Air Token came up 56 to 6 negatives, right? And you can look at any of these metrics, and this is a way to gauge how popular this ICO is on the internet. How popular is this ICO in the market, right? It gives you a lot of good indicators. And you can start combining these together, right? And you can start combining this data together to create a score. And that's kind of my next step, is to create a score of how do these things all come together to give a score on how well these coins rank, right? And based on all of this data, is there a way that I can weed out the bad tokens or the bad coins, ICOs, from the good ones, right? And I think it's a very, very effective way. So far, it's really helped me to weed them out. And so let's say, you know, I wanted to take the top 5 and extend my research, right? Now I have a way of taking 50 ICOs, right, down to 5. And I could say, okay, I am going to research, you know, only coins that are in the top 5 of positive mentions, or the top 5 of passion or reach or whatever, sentiment. And this gives me a way to very, very quickly and very effectively weed out some of the potential losers, right? Because I assume that if the sentiment in the market of a particular ICO is strong, the sentiment, the reach, the passion, the strength, the number of authors, the number of retweets, the average number of mentions it's getting per day. If all of these signals are strong, I can assume that in the market, there's a positive perception about that ICO. There's a high likelihood that that ICO will perform well, because right when it launches and goes to market, everybody in the market is already very, very supportive and very confident that this coin is going to go up, right? And it works the same way on the flip side, right? If I look at a coin at the bottom here that has a very, let's just sort this one more time. Let me undo what I did. Okay, so strength, I'm sorting by strength. And if I look down at the bottom, look at like Dom Raider, Bitflip, B1, these have 0% strength, right? Very, very low. They have very low positive mentions as well, right? And the number of times they're being mentioned are in the hours or even in the days, 10 days, 30 days and sometimes, meaning that these are not as well known, they're not as popular, they don't have as positive perception in the marketplace. And so these are ones that I probably want to kind of weed out from the get-go. I mean, I could certainly research them more and maybe there will be some winners in these, but there's too many ICOs to just kind of do research for. I mean, you just don't have time, right? So this has been a very, very effective way for me to weed out ICOs, in terms of which ones have good market sentiment, which ones don't, right? And so I hope it will be helpful for you as well. And again, remember that this is very important. Social sentiment, right, or sentiment analysis. Sentiment is very, very important because ICOs are largely bought and sold from speculators, from people that think the price is going to go way up, right? These are people that are hopeful. These are people that believe in the company, that believe in the ICO, that believe that ICO will turn into a fully fledged business with a lot of value, right? And the table, the ICO tracker, the ICO sentiment analysis, or the ICO sentiment tracker gives you insights into which ICOs are going to be popular and therefore which ICOs will rise in price on launch, right? And there's one other piece of this I wanted to show you. I've also graphed this out right here. And I'm playing around with this a little bit still, but you can quickly see, how all the ICOs stack up on a chart, right? In strength, you could see FlipMe's at the top, and then it goes down from here. And you could actually kind of stack rank these and combine these together. And I'm still kind of playing around with this, like I said, but it's another indication of, or another tool to use to help you decide which ICOs to buy. Okay, so what is the ultimate goal of this tool, right? The goal of the tool is to really help you get insight into which ICOs will be successful versus which ones will not be successful. The ultimate goal is not to guarantee that a specific ICO will go up in price, right? It's not to guarantee that a specific ICO will be a winner. It's to give you insight. It's to give you additional information about an ICO that you may not already have, right? It's to give you an edge over the crowd. I guarantee you very, very few, if anybody, are looking at these indicators, right? Because it's so new. People are looking at them in the stock market, but in the cryptocurrency world, not quite yet, right? People just aren't thinking about this yet. They're so hyped up on cryptocurrency that they aren't looking at these other alternative sources of data to give them insights into which ones are actually going to go up. And so I found this to be very, very effective for me to actually, weed out the winners from the losers. And where I want to take this actually is a bit further to where I have a fully automated system that'll literally bring in ICOs as they pop up. It will analyze them on the fly, and it'll provide me recommendations and you recommendations in terms of which ones I should go to. And there's one other piece to this, and I'm testing this out right now. I haven't actually started this yet, but the ultimate goal is to compare, is this method truly effective? Is it truly effective at, predicting winning ICOs? And one really, really cool tool that I like to use is called ICOstats.com. I'll put this in the show notes so you can see it. But what this guy has done, he's actually done a pretty cool thing. He's taken all the ICOs, or a lot of ICOs, right? And he's put them in this chart or on these tables. And he's looking at the ROI of ICOs after they launch, right? So you could look at ICOs here, and after they've launched, what's their ROI, right? And by date, what's their ROI? And you could actually look at, over time, how these ICOs are performing, right? You could see these are already ICOs that have launched, right? IOTAs, Sentiment, QTOM, all these different ICOs have already launched. But you could look at these and you could see what the winners, let me see. Okay, so here's a good chart I like to look at. From launch of ICO, here's a stack rank of how ICOs have performed. So NXT, huge, 404,000%. It's gone up. That's crazy, astronomical, right? And my ultimate goal is to take the ICOs that I'm recommending, that I'm sifting out from social sentiment analysis, and to then look at this chart and see, did they perform well or did they not perform well? And does that correlate with the sentiment analysis that I've performed? That's to come in kind of a phase 2. Not yet. It's a little early to do that, but that's really ultimately where I want to take it, to show you, to prove to you that this method actually does work to find winning ICOs. And as this comes out, I'll keep you guys up to date as this goes forward. Okay, so how can you get your hands on the ICO sentiment tracker, the ICOs tool? Does it cost anything? Nope, it is completely free. Right now, it's just a spreadsheet, and I'm looking to develop it out into an application, as soon as I can prove out the feasibility of that. But today it's free. You can download the ICOS tool on cryptocamacho.com/ICOS. That's cryptocamacho.com/ICOS. I will also include it in the show notes if you want to download it. It's you could download what I had. You could take a look at it, browse through the results, see if it's helpful for you. It's 100% free, and you could download it if you would like. And if you're new to ICOs, likely what you'll need to do in order to buy or participate in ICOs is you'll likely need to buy Bitcoin or Ethereum or some form of cryptocurrency. If you haven't bought any already, which I assume many of you have, but if you haven't, my place of choice is to go to Coinbase. Coinbase is super easy, super simple to use. I actually set up a tutorial on how to buy Bitcoin on Coinbase, which you can find again in the show notes. I also have a YouTube video about it. But go to Coinbase using my link and you'll get $10 of free Bitcoin or Ethereum or Litecoin if you'd like. So you can start there. But I hope this has been useful for you. I hope this tool you find valuable. If you've never looked at social media sentiment for trading or investing in the stock market or in the cryptocurrency market, I highly, highly recommend it, especially in the cryptocurrency world, because much of the market movements are based on human emotion and human sentiment and perception of the market, perception of the coin. And so I highly, highly recommend that you do use that. It's a very important thing that's happening today. It's gone mainstream in the stock market. It hasn't gone mainstream yet in the cryptocurrency markets, but it will soon follow, as soon as people start figuring this stuff out. The good thing is we barely scratched the surface in the crypto world, so you're definitely still early. You're an early adopter if you're watching this video, and you definitely have time to get in and make lots of money on ICOs, right? You saw that the NXT chart, it's gone up 404,000% since the ICO launch, right? That's crazy high. That's unusual, but very, very high. Potentials are very, 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 very high, significantly high for ICOs. And so I definitely recommend you get into it, you check it out, you research it. I'm not giving you financial advice, but I am recommending that you look at ICOs, right? And you do your due diligence. And hopefully this tool, hopefully this video and the method that I've presented to you will help you pick better ICOs in the long run. Again, I'm Dan from CryptoCamacho.com. Hope you enjoyed this video. Hopefully you found it useful. I'll put all of these links in the show notes, and go ahead and please subscribe to my channel if you like these videos. Leave comments if you have any suggestions on how to make this tool better. I would love your input, positive or negative. I would love to just hear what you think. But until the next time, I will see you later. See you guys.